No, come on. In 2002, he ran as a reformer. I mean, his whole campaign there was we're going to change business as usual. We're going to do things new. We're going to reform. We're going to do away with those bad old ways of doing things. And he was going to change the way that Springfield worked. And I think in the long run he's right, but I don't know that he's doing it the way that he meant to. He was very good at talking the talk. He knew what to say and when to say it. And when the cameras were off and the microphones were somewhere else, he would say something very different. And I want to offer just a couple of examples of what sort of a governor he was early on in his administration. He succeeded George Ryan. Everyone knows where George Ryan is now. The criminal trials that enveloped the Ryan administration all focused primarily on political work of state resources. There were state employees who were assigned to work on campaigns. There were state employees who were essentially forced to contribute to the campaigns. There were state resources that were stolen. I mean, photocopiers and other kinds of resources that were diverted from state offices to the campaign office. The focus at the time was on defining the improper use of state resources. And so in 2003, the Ethics Act that eventually came to pass was really focused on defining political activity on state time, what state employees can and can't do, how we're going to police these efforts. That's where we got the ethics officers, the inspectors general, the ethics commissions, whose focus is on really the activities of state employees and how to make sure they're doing taxpayer work and not campaign work when they shouldn't be. Because all of us, like ICPR, support public financing for candidates, but only for all candidates on the same basis and not only for incumbents. So we'll get there too. But the effort was on passing this ethics bill. And it got to be late May. It got to be about May 28th, right before adjournment. And the bill flies out of the House, gets to the Senate, and hits some stumbling blocks. And we're trying to get the Senate to call the bill for a vote, and Emil Jones is not going to call it for a vote. And our sponsor, Barack Obama, comes out and says, we have problems. Emil's not going to call the bill. We're going to have to make some changes here. And Cindy Canary and I were in Springfield, and we thought, all right, we'll have to figure out some changes, but let's see if we can't get some more pressure on the Senate President. We called Lisa Madigan, the Attorney General. We called Jesse White. We called Dan Hines, the Comptroller. We didn't call Judy Bartopinka because we didn't think she'd have a lot of sway with Emil Jones. But we called those three and said, can you please call, and we called the governor. And we called Rod Blagojevich, and we asked all of them, can you please call Emil Jones and ask him to call this ethics bill? And about half an hour later, Lisa Madigan called back and said, I just got off the phone with Emil Jones, and he said, thank you for the call. I can't guarantee that I'll do the bill, but thank you for the call. And a little while later, Jesse White called back and said, I just got off the phone with Emil Jones, and I asked him to call the bill, and he wouldn't make any promises, but I put the ask in. And Dan Hines called back and said, I just got off the phone. The same speech, the same kind of... We didn't hear back from the governor. And it got to be about 2 hours later, it's almost midnight now, and word comes back from the Senate President's office that an aide to the governor had called an aide to Emil Jones to make this kind of ask. And we're thinking, would it really have been so hard for at this point, at this juncture, to get this bill through, would it really have been so hard for the governor to make that call? And we foolishly or ignorantly or whatever cut him some slack and thought, the budget's also up in the air. Maybe the governor doesn't want to call the Senate President because there might be implications for the budget. Who knows? Now we know that was not the issue at all. So we guessed wrong. But early on, that's to show that the governor talked a lot about reform, said he wants to clean things up, but didn't always follow through. And one other example I want to throw out, because it's kind of personal to me and also fairly recent. If you follow the impeachment trial, One of the things that came out in the course of the House impeachment hearings was that the governor had a practice of hiring state employees as interns or as temporary employees, or he would hire them in Stevenson County instead of in Cook County and then move them in. And there was one of the documents filed in the impeachment hearing talked about an employee who had been hired as an intern in the Department of Employment Security. And on December 9th, 2003, this intern was promoted into a full-time position, which he then got to keep for as long as he wanted it. He was not qualified. He was qualified, but the process did not work properly. He should not have been hired as an intern. He should not have. The same day that Paul Simon, who founded ICPR, passed away. And this is the kind of thing that went on when Rod Blagojevich was governor, talking a good line, kind of saying the right things, and then doing exactly the opposite when no one was looking, when he thought no one was looking. So I think that's indicative of just two examples of what Rod Blagojevich was like, but also what Springfield can be like, what the Capitol can be like, where people can say, yes, I'm with you, yes, we need reform, yes, we should do something, but not what you want to do, or not now, or not at this particular moment. We need to study it some more. We need to hold off. Now that Rod's out of office, he always said he wanted to end business as usual. And I think in this regard, I think he's about to become the poster child for reform. I mean, think about it. I don't know if you watched the vote on Thursday. Anyone here actually watched the? Of course you did. What am I thinking? The vote was 59-0. Not only to remove him from office, but also to say he can never run for office again. And some of that was, of course, a principled vote. Some of those senators really believed that was the right thing to do. And some of them, frankly, saw that the ship was sinking and were going for a life raft and thought, okay, I'm going to show that I'm a reformer now. I'm going to vote to kick this guy out of office. We can't always control what people's motivations are. We do just want them to do the right thing. And if we can get them to do the right thing, to pass reform, to make it happen, that's the opportunity. I think that shows where we are now, how hard it can be, and yet how right now there's a moment, there's a chance to get even people who don't like reform in their heart of hearts to stand up and do what they ought to do. So what's next? So where do we go? How do we get out of this mess? We got George Ryan out of office, we put him into jail, and now we're right back at square one. So where do we go now? I think the focus of our efforts now has to be on campaign finance and how, not only inside government, but outside government, how campaigns are conducted, how they're financed, how they're run. What we have now is a rat race where candidates take as much money as they can get from whomever or whatever will give it to them in exchange for God knows what, and spend that on their campaigns. The thing about rat races is sometimes good people can win those, but they're really designed for rats. And so you wind up with an awful lot of rats who win those kind of things. If we can change that system and change the way the campaigns are financed and conducted, determine who gets into office. I don't mean to knock, Pat Quinn. I think he has a long history that we're all familiar with of honestly standing up for what he believes in and defending that through. But Pat Quinn is one person, and the system as a whole is what really needs attention now.